Hey guys, it's Kyle with Grassroots POV. Welcome back to another video. Today will be more of just a commentary video on my experience this past weekend at the Four Nations Cup in Oceanside, California. It took place on Saturday and Sunday, so the Saturday games were one for each team, so two semifinals. The first one was Brazil versus Mexico, as you can see here. Now, except for the third place match, this was definitely one of the sparser crowds of the four matches I went to. Front Wave Arena, I believe, holds around 7.5K. It reminds me a lot, I don't know if any of you guys are hockey fans out there or have ever been out to the desert in the Palm Springs area, but it reminds me a lot of Acrisure Arena. Sort of reminds me of just the perfect minor league hockey arena, which then, with the MASL boundaries, makes it for a perfect arena for indoor soccer. Not a lot of open space, things like that. So just a really intimate atmosphere, which I thought was pretty cool. One part about the gameplay itself that I enjoyed was the physicality along the boards. I think it almost is like hockey on grass, which I get is an oxymoron because the whole point of hockey is it's on ice. But it's the physicality and things like that where you have different strategies you can use with hold-up play and things like that. I thought it did drag the game down a little bit, maybe in terms of entertainment. But I thought tactically it's really cool to see how some of these players use the wall, whether it's physically or by kicking the ball into it at an angle, or a lot of the times I saw goalies clearing it off the corner when in trouble. So that's something as a goalie growing up who didn't have the best playing out of the back ability, I would have killed to be able to just hit it out wide and it somehow gets upfield. So maybe that's just more of a personal thing, but I thought it was just an interesting point, not necessarily a good or a bad thing towards the game. As you start to see some of the other clips from other games, I believe some of these are from the USA-Mexico championship match on Sunday, which is always a heated rivalry, really fun to watch. This one wasn't as much, and I'll get into that later, but another aspect of the indoor soccer that I really liked, especially with the hockey boards, is the set pieces. It's really interesting how they do the set pieces. It's mostly from where the ball is fouled or handballed or whatever it may be, but if it goes out of play, they put it in the corner, and the way that people could try and, kick it off the wall or these chip shots to sort of take advantage of these weird, wacky rules that the league has, I thought was really creative at times. At certain times, it just ends up being they try this whole elaborate thing just to kick it into a two-man wall that's 5 yards away instead of 10. But some of the cool free kicks were really cool to see, and I think add a lot to the game if used right. Another weird aspect and a unique rule to this league is also blue cards, which I think a lot of people in the stands, including myself, who haven't really been to these events a ton yet, were really surprised when they got pulled out. But blue cards are basically, if you're familiar with hockey, a lot like most of these rules, the player who commits the infraction, it's basically their version of a yellow card, but if a yellow card made you go down a man for 2 minutes. So the other team gets a one-man advantage, that person goes into the legitimate penalty box that the hockey players use as well to create that man advantage, which, I'll be honest, brutally honest, at times made for really slow gameplay. And I think the USA especially, maybe I was just a little bit biased too, just being an American myself, but the USA especially had so many blue card opportunities where they had the man up and would just kind of pass around and waste most of the time. I get they don't want to hit into a deflection. I'm sure there's more tactics behind it that I don't get. But I really think that the blue cards were something that I was really excited about when I first learned the rules of this game while at the event. And one of the San Diego Sockers fans kind of explained it to me. And it really was underwhelming. I feel like with power plays in hockey, whether you're on the team that has it or against it, it's always entertaining and you have to watch the whole time. With the power plays in the MASL format, it just really wasn't doing it for me. And there was certainly no shortage of different types of penalties in this match, especially the championship match, as there was I guess you could kind of call it a brawl. I called it that on Instagram, maybe a little clickbaity, but sue me. Just a lot of chippy moments, really hard hits, as I'll put in this clip. Just a really physical game, which you're obviously going to expect from USA-Mexico, and I think really got the crowd into it more than they would have. The only downside was with so many penalties. This was a indoor or arena soccer match. I think it took like 3 hours and 15 minutes or something like that, which was just crazy, especially on a Sunday night. This fight got so heated, too, that the refs ended up instructing the security not only to stand and create a barricade between the two teams after a little bit of pushing and shoving, but then also sent them into the penalty box later in the game to stand between the American and the Mexican players, which, I get it, you have to control the game. It was just a really funny visual. An aspect of the rules that I really liked, especially when contrasting to actual soccer, I get unless you have ad boards in normal soccer where you play on a big field, it's harder to keep the ball in play. You don't have hockey boards around the entire place. It's usually just stands or an open field, depending on the level. So I think the quick restarts and the stopping of the clock every time the ball goes out of play or there's a foul or anything like that really eliminates any meaningful time wasting that could be considered cheating the game in any way. So I thought that was a cool aspect that, when compared to normal soccer, did make the game a little bit more enjoyable. I feel like in soccer in general, we just accept that if it's a goal kick, cool, that's 20 to 30 seconds being wasted, especially if it's mid-game and the ref's not necessarily on the goalie or a throw-in or whoever it may be about the time wasting. I feel like in soccer we just easily accept that, cool, that's just a wasted 15 to 20 seconds. And, refs will say, oh, no, but we added on. But we all know it doesn't fully ever get added on. If we actually added on all the little mini stoppages like throw-ins and stuff, the games would be going into the 30 minutes of extra time. But I think for this product on the smaller field and with shorter amounts of time, it's only really a 60-minute game with 15-minute quarters. I do think it works for this format. All right, and then one of my last takeaways, too, was the emptying of the arena. I don't know who exactly was organizing it, whether it was the arena itself or MASL or the San Diego Soccers, or really just a mix of all three. I think it was probably more along those lines. But the emptying of the arena I thought was really counterintuitive. On Saturday, they had a match at 3, and then a match at, I believe, 7. And then on the Sunday especially, they had one at 1 and one at 5. And when you're not necessarily pulling these great attendances at these, again, the U.S.-Mexico match was definitely better than some of the other matches, but I think it just seems counterintuitive financially and in terms of the actual entertainment value. I don't know why you wouldn't want to have more people hanging out in the arena between games, talking, maybe putting on events, things like that. They had a fan fest outside, but you still had to exit and get a new ticket or buy the all-weekend ticket. So I just thought that part of it didn't make a ton of sense. I'm sure there's some smarter business aspect of it that does make sense, but that was one that I thought it took away from the fan experience a little bit. I also forgot to mention the winner of the tournament gets $10K to split among the team, which I'm pretty sure, to my knowledge, a lot of these players, this isn't necessarily a full-time. A lot of them have other jobs and things like that outside, so $10K is definitely a cool added bonus on top of playing for your country. The only thing is, and I couldn't find anything anywhere, but I don't think the winner of the third place match necessarily got anything. And while you're still obviously playing for your country, and there is that pride that goes behind that, I barely included any clips from the third place game anyways, because you could tell it was just a way different level of intensity compared to then the championship later that night for 10K, and also just USA versus Mexico. So yep, Mexico ended up beating the U.S. in the championship match on the Sunday night, and yeah, that was it. They take home the 10K, so congratulations to Mexico. But yeah, not a very high production quality video today. Just wanted to use some of the B-roll I got, which was a lot. There was a lot I didn't even use in this video. And just sort of give my takeaways, my honest takeaways, not getting paid to endorse the league or the tournament or anything like that. So I figured I could be brutally honest, but also, I mean, I appreciate it. It's a cool form of the sport, and I think it is something that could get off the ground a little bit more than it already has. MASL is already somewhat popular, especially in some of these smaller towns and markets. They even have a team in Mexico, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, those were some of my takeaways. Let me know what you think down in the comments, or if you've been to one, or if you completely disagree, or I was just wrong about something in this. Very new to the league. This was the first event that I'd gone to, but excited to go and cover, hopefully, more San Diego Soccers and different MASL things, especially in the off-season for USL when things are a little bit quieter. So, Thank you guys for watching and listening, and hope you have a good day. Thank you.